Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to the D1Baseball NerdCast, the first NerdCast of 2021. It's the moment everyone has been waiting for. I mean, in fact, everywhere I go, I run into people on the street and they're like, "Hey, when's that NerdCast going to drop?" Well, your wait is over. I'm Aaron Fitt. I'm here with my good buddies, Kendall Rogers and the nerd in chief himself, Mark Etheridge, fresh off a jaunt down to Key West for his honeymoon. A hearty congratulations to you, my friend.
Thanks so much. It's great to be back with you guys and talk some baseball tonight. And yeah, I am sporting a wedding ring. I don't, I know that sometimes that can be constrictive and maybe keep the flow of information. I'm going to try to be my normal effervescent self tonight and just, bring out the inner nerd in you two as well.
Well, I mean, you're gifted when it comes to that. You're like our nerdling muse here. We haven't done one of these since last year in May. We did like a fake nerdcast where we put together our Field 64 for the
Road to Quahog.
Yeah, that's right. The field that should have been.
Kind of was. Yeah.
It kind of was the road to Quahog. But this one, as regular listeners of the nerdcast know, this is our midseason attempt to construct a field of 64, and of course, conditions this year are stranger than ever. And we'll get into that in a minute, but we're going to go through, of course, try to pick our 16 hosts / national seeds. We'll discuss this as well. Is a host the same as a national seed? We need to have that discussion. And then we'll go conference by conference and look at, the teams that we're going to project to make regionals. And there's a long way to go right now. But before we get into that, a quick thank you to our friends at Driveline Baseball, sponsors of the D1Baseball podcast. Driveline offers a variety of training, education, software, and hardware solutions for players and coaches. If you're overwhelmed by collecting different data sources, and we know that a lot of you have to be because there's so much data out there, mass athlete programming, third-party analytic insights. If these things are trouble spots for you, call or email into support@drivelinebaseball.com and talk to them about getting set up with your own custom player development bundle on the Track platform, which is pretty darn cool. If you haven't seen that before, by the way, the Track platform it's cutting edge as far as organizing your program. You can look into a Driveline certification that'll empower you to run Driveline training, pitch design, and or biomechanical data collection in products like Modus. So for more information, check out Driveline Baseball on Twitter, Instagram, or at drivelinebaseball.com. Kendall, we talked in the other podcast that I think is dropping today about the changes to the Field of 64 process. We're going to have predetermined sites that will be announced on May 10th. And, before we get into trying to figure out who our top 16 are, let's throw this out there for discussion. I guess the way we should probably do this is to pick our 16 host sites independently of our top 16 national seeds. What do you think the plan is? How do you think this is going to wind up?
My feeling from just talking to people at the NCAA is that for the most part, it's going to be merit based. But let's be honest here, guys. If Michigan, and I get it, like they're not supposed to look at this stuff, but if Michigan is ranked by everybody and their RPI 65, from a location geographical standpoint, they're going to host. And so I think you look at like a Midwestern site. I think the Texas, Louisiana site should be satisfied because you've got a lot of options there with TCU, Texas, Texas Tech, Louisiana Tech. The really interesting one, though, we can kind of talk about this in a little bit, and I don't know if we just assume they'll host, but the really interesting one for me is like the West Coast. If you're Oregon or you're the state of California, Arizona doesn't have to deal with this because they actually don't have that many restrictions. But like, will UCLA even want to host a regional if they can only have like 50 people there? Are they going to spend all the money to create a testing site on campus and everything like that just to basically lose money on it? And that's a question we don't really know an answer to.
Yeah, these are things that hopefully we'll have more information on by the time it's really relevant, but maybe not. We have 8 weeks left before Selection Day. So that's, things before you know it, that day's going to be here. And then you've got what? in what, 6 weeks before the host sites? Is that what we're looking at? Or
Yeah.
five,
So
6 weeks?
So to give you the date, so the postseason bid portal opened on March 29th. You have the deadline to submit your bid to host is April 12th, and then the week of May 10th, they will announce the regional host site. So again, my hunch is based. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so the decisions have to be made, early May, right? Those first few days, you need to know exactly where you stand, what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And then the NCAA will reward, accordingly. Everyone wants a meritocracy, right? You want the best 16, and maybe that's the case. Maybe we get that, but if there are certain schools that aren't willing, or for whatever reason, maybe they're kind of teetering a little bit. But should I not? Maybe that comes into play, and someone else who's gung ho, yes, please give me this. Maybe that has some merit this year, where typically it's merit based, right? Where it's the best 16. It used to be back when I was a young man. It was you could buy a regional. You bid the most, and yeah, we're going to host. And then it moved away from that. And I wonder if this year it's not that, yeah, I'm going to buy a regional. It's, yes, we're ready for this. We can handle it. Here are all of the hoops that we jump through to make sure this happens and happens successfully. And I wonder if that may matter a little more, well, I imagine it will, than it would in a typical year.
Yeah, what's really interesting is well, guys, to keep an eye on. Number one, there's no minimum financial guarantee this year, so it kind of takes the bidding process out just a little bit, just from a monetary standpoint. But the really interesting thing to me, this is actually a pretty good idea for a future column, is the one effect it will have, guys, is on teams who, as of right now, don't look like they would host. But if they went on a run the final couple of weeks of May and then went to the conference tournament and played really well, in a normal year, they'd play themselves in the host. A school I'm kind of talking about right now, Southern Miss, like they have an RPI of 22. Conference USA probably isn't going to get 2 host sites, but guess what? What if they went on a run at the end of May, they win the Conference USA tournament, all of a sudden they become a viable potential host, whereas in this year's climate, that won't happen.
But what they could still do, I guess, is they could become a 1 seed, even if they're not hosting, which is not as good as hosting, but that would be, the way that they could still be rewarded at least.
Absolutely.
The other thing to think about here is something I brought up on our other podcast is I suspect there's a chance this year that we will have more host sites determined by geography for the sake of cutting down on travel rather than just standard diversity in geography. And that's always something the NCAA likes anyway. They like to have a regional in the north when it's, when you can defend it. But now I think there's even more of an imperative to cut down on plane travel. And, if you can put a regional in Ann Arbor or Storrs, Connecticut, or, wherever it is where you've got a bunch of teams that you can drive in there, I think that's a real asset. So that's something else to keep in mind. What I suggest we do for this exercise is pick our top 16 teams. And then if we want, we can have a discussion about whether we think some other team should host as a 2 or a 3. But let's start with our top 16. And I think a pretty easy decision who should be number 1. Now, Villanova, they're number 1 in the RPI. So they're, I think, the number 1 now.
Well, I was going to go with Fairfield.
Fairfield's
number 3.
This is an important, I think, reminder that this Field 64 is not based on if the season ended today and what the RPI looks like today. We are projecting forward. This is a good reason to do that, because especially this year there's a lot of teams that have played far fewer games than others. There are teams that have played only conference games or only allowed to play conference games. There are teams that still haven't played a game. I mean, it's just the weirdest year. But so Vanderbilt is the number 1 national seed. They're number 1 in our rankings. They have the best 2 pitchers. I mean, like I think that's an easy choice if I'm projecting.
So the only contender, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but the only alternative, we'll call them, would be Arkansas, because they're 10-2 against the RPI top 25.
Yeah, it's
10-2.
Ridiculous.
It's loud. And
Vandy is 4-2 and 9-2 against the top 50. Right. Which is excellent, right? I mean, you're talking about you know, which Gilligan's Island girl you like, Ginger or Marianne. They're both I dated myself there. But anyway, that's what you're dealing
Man, you
with.
are old.
Good comp there, Skipper.
Yeah. Hey, little buddy.
Actually, I mean, Mark, you make a good point. I guess we shouldn't just default to Vandy because these two teams have very similar resumes. Actually, right now, Arkansas has the slightly better resume based on all those top 25 wins. Although, again, what's a top 25 win worth right now when you've got Villanova and Fairfield in the top, 3?
Those games are not against Villanova and Fairfield.
No, you're right.
Those are decent wins.
They've, I mean, they swept Mississippi State on the road. First and foremost, I mean, that's probably louder than anything that any other team has done. And then, of course, they had the 3 wins in Arlington, Texas Tech, Texas, and TCU. I mean, and 2 out of 3 at La Tech is quality. Alabama, 2 out of 3. I mean, what they've done is, I think, is the best resume over the first 7 weeks. Now, maybe,
where does it go over the next 8? That's the question. And I'm not betting against Arkansas at this point. I think they're going to continue to be at the top of, at this discussion. The difference is Vandy. How are they going to lose a series? That's my question. I mean, Arkansas can lose a series. I mean, they're really good, but they're not just so dominant on the hill that they couldn't have a bad game or 2.
I mean, am I crazy when I look at Vanderbilt's remaining schedule to say that the only series I think they could lose is at Florida? Maybe at Ole Miss, but I don't think they're losing.
Yeah, they could lose
at
Ole
home.
Miss. Yeah, they could lose it. I mean, Ole Miss at home is dangerous.
Yep.
Especially late in the year when the weather's nice and the crowds may be back.
And Ole Miss is really freaking good also. I mean, I don't think there's any separation between those teams, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, so Kendall, what do you think here? Vanderbilt versus Arkansas?
I mean, I kind of sided with the idea that I'm not sure Vandy's going to lose a series.
Yeah.
For now. I mean, Arkansas's resume is better right now, but I mean, like, I got to see somebody at least like threaten Vandy. I mean, I get it. Like South Carolina, the opening game, like they played them tough, but I don't think anybody ever thought like Vanderbilt was in jeopardy of losing.
So eye test is definitely Vandy. Metrics, you can argue it, right?
Absolutely.
It's probably a little bit Arkansas, but then it goes to, okay, well, how are things going to go the rest of the year? You've got 8 more weeks, 7 in a tournament. I think Vandy's gonna, with their, they're gonna definitely have a good run in Hoover. You would think if everybody is healthy and playing. They've just got so many arms. But Arkansas, their pitching depth is maybe even if anybody is better pitching, from a depth standpoint, it's Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
So they set up, they're going to enjoy Hoover, I would think, and that's what it may come down to, because I think these teams they're going to stay near the top and jockey, and I think they're the 1 and the 2, and honestly, it probably doesn't matter which order you put them in, but I think convince me otherwise, but I think they're 1 and 2, and I think Vanderbilt's upside is maybe a little higher just because they're, they got those 2 studs.
Yeah,
let's
default with Rocker and Leiter here. I think that's the winning, and especially since I mean we talk a lot about Rocker and Leiter, but it's not like this is a 2-man team.
No,
that offense is pretty damn good.
The point I wanted to make. Probably I didn't, but
yeah. I mean, we had a discussion earlier today about potential SEC Player of the Year candidates, and we mentioned 4 different guys in the Vandy lineup that are all viable SEC Player of the Year candidates. We're not even talking about the pitching, so yeah, they're loaded. Number 3 national seed, if we go Vandy 1, Arkansas 2. I mean, certainly I think Ole Miss is in this discussion. They're number 3 in our top 25, but they're down at 17 in the RPI. Again, it's early. I think
it's too early for Ole Miss.
Yeah. Mark, I know you've kind of probably sketched all this out already.
I looked at it a little bit. The types, I mean, they're kind of grouped together, but I think the Big 12 champ, which maybe TCU, maybe Texas, I think they're that's who you need to be looking at, along with East Carolina. If Pac-12 champion, I think if this high level at in the top 5, you're looking at conference champions or really high RPI clubs with a lot of quality wins. That's who typically falls in this spot. The ACC is kind of weird, and I wrote this today. Louisville and Georgia Tech, who I think are probably the 2 best teams in the ACC, have RPI problems, pretty significant RPI problems. I think they're like 50 and 60 something.
Louisville is 55, but it's worth noting that 7 days ago they were 37. So I mean they've dropped 28 spots in the last 7 days. So I mean it's so fluid still.
Right, and you're right, but I mean that's still a long way to come up, and Georgia Tech's in the same boat. So they've got a lot of teams to jump in order to get up in this national seed talk, and maybe they do, and maybe in a month we're saying, hey, remember when we talked about they had an RPI problem and they don't anymore? But I'm not so sure. At this point, I'm looking at, for 3, 4, 5 in that range, I'm looking at, a Big 12 champ, whoever we think that's going to be. Maybe Notre Dame can get there from an RPI standpoint. East Carolina. I think Tennessee, with the way they're playing, along with Ole Miss, Mississippi State, that's the tier that I'm looking at in these next few groups. Okay, tell me why I'm wrong.
No, I'm with you. For me, the Big 12 feels like it probably gets the next spot. I just don't know which team that is, Kendall. I mean, you've seen all those teams: Texas, TCU, Texas Tech. Those feel like the 3 contenders right now. They're they all have almost identical records overall. I think TCU and Texas are kind of in the catbird seat in the standings for what that's worth, but it's early. What's your thought on the Big 12, Kendall?
Yeah, I look at this league overall. So right now, TCU 6-0, Texas is a half game back, and Texas Tech is 3 games back. I mean, Texas Tech has some work to do, but I also think Tech wins that series against TCU this weekend, and they've got a shot against Texas down the stretch. So I still want to say I lean Texas Tech to win that league, but it's certainly not as confident as I was maybe a couple weeks ago on the podcast.
After the Kansas State deal. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a definite setback.
But Kansas State is good. I mean, it's a team that should be good. They have talent. It's a team that was one of our favorite sleepers of the year. So it's not like that's a terrible series loss. But yes, it's a setback. But I mean, they're 2 weekends in. They're 3-3. I mean, that's usually fine. It's just you look up at somebody else's 6-0, so you got work to do.
Yeah. So and we can get into this later, but I mean, conference records are going to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
ACC's got extra games. Big Ten's all conference, and the SEC, quote, they're playing the same number of games, but they're probably so top heavy at this point. There's going to be some really good teams with like 12 and 18, 11 and 19 type of records that are quality wise would be scary in a regional. I don't know they're going to get in, but we'll get into that. Going back to this, you're trying to find the right spot. Would a Pac-12 champ like an Arizona could it be too early for them? If they move, continue to go ahead. I know they're kind of they're not leading the conference now, but their RPI is in great shape. So that's kind of where we are with that tier. I mentioned a bunch of teams, and I don't have a strong inclination on any of them. Maybe East Carolina. I think they're going to continue to win a lot of games in that league, and their RPI might slip a little, but their one loss is not going to slip that much.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's another one to consider.
So Kendall, what do you think Big 12 wise? You want to stick with Texas Tech as the top of your Big 12 pecking order, even though, I mean, again, like I'm not scared of the fact that, like they're a few games behind. As you mentioned, they have TCU at home this weekend. If they win that series, then,
Yeah, I mean, I still think Texas Tech's the best team in that league down the stretch. I mean, They have at Texas. I mean, actually, their remaining schedule. They're at Texas and at Oklahoma, and they have Kansas and Baylor at home, and they're also at West Virginia. So like the schedule actually is not easy for them.
That's
And
a
West
quality
Virginia is
league.
playing better too.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the SEC being awesome, and it is. But the Big 12 is so deep. There's not a lot of weeks off in that league. So if you win that league, you are a legitimate badass. So I think you're going to definitely be a top 5. Whether you're 3, I don't know. We can argue about that, but you're going to be up there near the top.
Might go TCU guys. I mean, they're up 3 games. They go to Tech this weekend. So let's say they take 1 of 2. They're still up. They're still up in the standings. They have Oklahoma State and Texas both at home. I might actually lean TCU here.
That's what I had. I had mapped out TCU here, but
yeah,
I wasn't.
The schedule's better.
Sold on it. I could be. There's sometimes if you contradict me, I'll try to arm wrestle you, and this wasn't one of those times. So.
I mean, I feel like, and it's weird to say, guys, like, I mean, they're the number 4 team in our rankings, but I kind of feel like I have more like conviction in TCU and Texas Tech than I do Texas down the stretch.
Yeah, I think I do too. And again, you've seen them all these teams. I haven't, so I'm kind of deferring to you on this. But yeah, I mean, we could just put them back to back at 3 and 4 if we think that they're that good.
Do that.
So let's see what that.
Do you think that you think they both have the staying power to get there, or will one falter? That would be the other question. This is they're going to play each other once and then the tournament, but
yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't have as good a feel for TCU Kendall as you do, but I kind of like what I'm seeing from afar. I mean, to me, I think they do have staying power. 3 seems a little rich, but.
Yeah, I mean, 3 seed might be a little rich for TCU, but you look at the Frogs. I mean, they were really offensive over the weekend at Oklahoma, pitching wise, like Russell Smith, Austin Krob, like Charles King, Johnny Ray. Like that's a really good nucleus of arms.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. The other options, you go back into SEC clubs, right?
Right.
Mississippi State, Florida, South Carolina, all those teams. I'm leaving some out. There's so many. But
Tennessee, yeah,
Tennessee, that's so it's but I don't know that we're gonna stack 3 at the top for one league. I think it's a committee, so you're going to have some variation there at 3, 4, and then maybe you get some more SEC piling
there. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go TCU, Texas Tech. I would be comfortable going back to the SEC after that at 5. I mean, I could go like an Ole Miss or somebody next, or even Mississippi State.
It's whoever you think is that 3rd team, and that's one that we can debate for years, perhaps.
I think I like Ole Miss a tick better actually.
I do too. I think Ole Miss has comparable weekend starters, and I like Ole Miss's offense much better, although they could be without Elko the rest of the year.
Oh boy, so that I didn't know.
Yeah, he tore his knee up yesterday.
Oh
boy.
Yeah.
So if you look at Ole Miss, and again, I'm not disagreeing, but the difference so far in the way that I perceive Ole Miss and Mississippi State is that Arkansas series in Starkville. That changed my perception. And it elevated Arkansas, but it dropped Mississippi State. And whether it should or not, I mean, Arkansas is really good.
Well,
but it did. It did. And to get swept at home by anyone when you're supposed to be a top 5.
The other thing that concerns me, the other thing that concerns me about Mississippi State in terms of staying power is like they really, I mean, since Globe Life, they really have not been very offensive.
Yeah.
And
I don't think they're great defensively either. I mean, I think that's actually maybe their biggest flaws. I think the defense is just okay. So I do have concerns about them. I really liked Ole Miss until I heard this Elko news. That gives me some pause because he's really their most dangerous bat. So I don't know, but I mean, I still think, with Hoagland and Nikhazy and actually they've got a deep pitching staff.
Yeah.
Also. I think their bullpen depth is underrated. So I'm actually still fine with Ole Miss next, and then we could look at somebody else. We could look at East Carolina. We could look at, and we probably should look at an ACC team, even though for me, I think it's clear that the top of the ACC is not what even the top of the Big 12 is. I think the Big 12 is actually better than the ACC by a significant margin this year.
I like Ole Miss and then East Carolina. I think about East Carolina, they're going to pass the oddball test. They're going to have a gaudy record at the end of the year. I mean, I think they project really well.
They're a national seed. I think they're top 8.
Yep.
Right? East Carolina's a top 8, and after that, you're looking at an ACC champ or the top ACC RPI team. Like what we talked about earlier, and then you're looking at Pac-12. Is there somebody ready to elevate, or else there's that next group of SEC teams? That's who's waiting.
Well, I know we all expected Notre Dame to be the top RPI team coming into the season, so I know Aaron pegged that one in his ACC preview.
Nailed it. I mean, certainly Notre Dame is going to be one of our top 16 teams right now. But if I'm betting on someone to win the ACC, I'm putting all my chips on Louisville.
What the track record's there.
Yeah.
It's just they've got a long way to climb, right? I mean, national seed, you've at least got to be top 16 RPI in a normal year. Maybe West Coast, you get a little leeway.
Well, even then, what was that? What was UCLA's RPI that year they actually hosted? Was it like 32?
It was 32 a year.
But they weren't a top 8.
But they were just one of the 16 that weren't seeded. All right. Yeah. So you've had and again, I haven't brushed off all this stuff yet, but I will. I think maybe the 16 to 18 range would be the worst national seed, top 8 that we've had. And that was, everything else was great. The RPI was wrong, right? It was one of those situations, which, you could have here if Louisville just runs away and they're the far and away the best team in a good league. But the RPI says they're just, they're not that. Then you can just override it.
Yeah, it's the thing that's hurting them is their first 7 games. They played Bellarmine, brand new Division I team, for 3. They played Western Illinois for 3, and Eastern Kentucky. And by the way, they lost one of those Western Illinois games. And Eastern Kentucky, none of those teams, actually all those teams have 9 wins exactly. So they're
a lot of home games.
Home games against teams that have bad records, and that's what's.
I would love to know.
They've lost a couple. So
yeah.
I would love to know what Louisville's RPI would be had they not lost that first game to Western Illinois.
I don't think the win or loss makes that much of a difference. I mean, there's not a penalty. It's just like you play the game. That's that's what hurts you.
You don't gain it, but you don't gain anything by playing. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I know that's I'm nerding out here, but if you have home games against bad teams, you can really only hurt yourself. You're not helping yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, they just lost. They lost tonight to Kentucky with an RPI of 62.
Yeah, but Kentucky's not terrible. We'll get to them in a minute.
So yeah, I mean that is a concern about Louisville as far as trying to project them as a top 8. I mean that anchor on their resume with those first 7 games, that is going to be a challenge to overcome.
Yeah, I mean there's water in the boat, and they're trying to get it out to salvage this trip.
So that said, I mean, I feel like we probably need to have an ACC team in the top 8, but maybe we don't.
You don't need it.
I think Notre Dame here is actually a pretty good call. Like
I think that, and that's what I had. I had Notre Dame
12-5 in the league. That's a really good record.
The question is staying power, and how will they project? And
I mean,
you
at
guys
this
wouldn't
point,
be better equipped than me to answer that. But if they can continue to play at the same level, they're a top 8.
I mean, if you look at the remaining schedule, if you look at Notre Dame's remaining schedule, they have Georgia Tech at home, NC State at home, North Carolina at home, Florida State at home. That's a pretty favorable schedule. Granted, they don't have much of a home field advantage in South Bend, but they're still playing home games.
Yeah, maybe they're the top ACC team.
It's
It's time
crazy,
to,
but
Well, based on the information that we have, that's a safe choice.
yeah.
well, and I don't think the ACC is going to get shut out. So I think somebody needs to be a national seed out of the ACC.
Right. And the same, I think, goes for the pack. And so, like,
Yeah.
I don't know who we pick from the pack. Oregon State is currently in first place. But again, it's early. They haven't been playing, 4 weeks of conference play like the ACC has. But Oregon State's 7-2. Then you've got Stanford and Cal at 4-2. You've got Arizona State, Arizona, and UCLA. And Oregon, those teams are all 5-4. Oregon is 3-3 with a high RPI. I don't know. I don't know right now.
So Arizona's got the top RPI, they're
Yeah.
in the top 5 RPI, but I think it's going to be who wins that league. And assuming it's not Cal, whose RPI is anchored right now, it's probably anyone who wins that league.
I kind of like Arizona right now. I mean, if you look at Arizona's remaining schedule, Cal at home, Wazoo on the road, USC at home, Utah at home, Washington at home, and they have Stanford and Oregon State on the road. That's a pretty manageable slate there.
Yep.
Who do you think's the best team?
I would probably side with Arizona over Oregon and Oregon State personally.
UCLA is still a factor. They're like the the elephant.
Yeah, they're looming, right?
But they also have not really earned the benefit of the doubt at this point. They're 7 weeks in, they've lost 3 weekends.
Yeah, and even if they won the league, they've got a Louisville problem. The RPI is 61.
Yeah. They got to climb.
Yeah, let's.
I'm thinking Arizona at this point.
Yeah.
If Kendall thinks they're the best and they have the best RPI now,
they pass the eyeball test. I get it. Like their defense
that's enough
sketchy, but they pass the eyeball test to people who have seen them.
Okay.
Good enough for me. Arizona and Notre Dame would be our last 2 in the top 8 here. Should we go Arizona and then Notre Dame? Or vice versa?
I had Notre Dame first, but yeah,
Okay.
we
do
can do that.
Let's do Notre Dame 7, Arizona 8. Keeping it rolling, I would probably bring in like a Mississippi State next.
Yeah, you got Mississippi State, Tennessee, South Carolina from the SEC, and Florida if you want to discuss them. Those would be the SEC guys. Then the other teams to discuss would be Louisville, Georgia Tech, Texas,
Oregon State,
Oregon, and La Tech.
La Tech, yeah.
Yeah, La Tech and Texas feel like very safe bets to be in this range. Especially La Tech to me has big time staying power in that league with how good they've been.
Yeah, it was so impressive winning 3 out of 4 in Hattiesburg.
And they held their own against the SEC.
It's a hard place to win. Yeah.
They played games against the Southeastern Conference and held their own. So.
Good point.
Yeah, it's the question is, okay, they're going to play Conference USA, which to me looks improved. You got Charlotte and ODU there, and FAU is always good, and you may have some teams that are going to continue to play past the conference tournament. So that's going to help them, from a credibility standpoint. That it's not a 2-bid league this year. I think it's
it could be a
4-bid league.
Yeah, I'm more bullish on CUSA right now than I am American.
Oh, no question.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
even close.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So, heck, they could be number 9. I would maybe put an SEC team, maybe Mississippi State, and then Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too.
Texas, I would have right up in here too, actually, maybe even ahead of La Tech. I don't know.
Right in that range, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay
that's
with
the next tier, right? And
yeah,
honestly, if we're nobody's listening, right? So we're just us talking. So what I would do is I would look at the matchups between like 7-10 and 8-9 and 6-11 and get something juicy.
Bite your tongue,
That's what I
Marcus.
would do. That's
How about
but
Notre Dame?
no one heard that.
How about Notre Dame versus Texas?
Ooh, that would be spicy.
That might get a few eyeballs. Yeah, that might get a few eyeballs.
Think of the offense in Arizona.
I'm sure
and
the
Louisiana
committee
Tech.
would never think of that. No, of course
or
not.
the offense between Arizona and Louisiana Tech. That'd be a lot of offense, by the way.
Well, what we've got right now is if we go Arizona 8, well, we'll talk about the matchups later. We're not going to cheat and engineer matchups. That's not how this works. You know better. Shame on
the
you,
committee
Marcus.
would never do that. So
shame on you.
So ashamed.
Arizona currently is 8. Mississippi State, I've got 9. I've got Texas 10. La Tech 11. I personally still have a lot of faith in Florida. They would be in this range for me. Louisville, I think, same, based on pedigree and ability.
yeah, Florida ahead of Tennessee.
I would, yeah. I mean,
Florida 3-6 against top 25. Tennessee 7-4. Florida.
It's all about how you finish. Tennessee has the better resume, right?
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
Like if it's based on right now, I mean, take Villanova or both of them.
Well, I mean, come on now. I mean,
no,
it's not like Tennessee's RPI is inflated.
No, I know Tennessee's had a very good year. They and it's kind of like Notre Dame. Maybe they've earned the benefit of the doubt. We could just roll with it if you want. Personally, I still bet on Florida long term, but I mean, if you want to go Tennessee, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, the order doesn't really matter that much. I'm okay with Florida as a top 16, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We can move Tennessee ahead of them both.
I mean, the talent's going to play out, right?
Yeah, I mean, they play this weekend, so.
You're taking the Vols in that series, it sounds like.
I'll take the Vols. Let's go.
All right. So be it. See how I pinned him in there, Mark?
I have a soft spot for Tony Vitello and the Vols.
Oh, yeah.
So you hate Florida? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well done.
No, I'm just gonna stop there.
Tennessee, Florida, Louisville, South Carolina, Oregon State, Georgia Tech. Those would be 17 teams for 16 spots, unless there's another ACC team we want to bring into this discussion, such as maybe a Florida State,
Miami, Florida State. That would be the next guys.
Yeah. And you see,
are we just going to ignore Oregon?
I mean,
sitting there at 11 RPI, 5-4 against top 50. Yeah. Series sweep at UCSB has already taken 2 of 3 from Oregon State.
Oregon should definitely be in this discussion also. And
right there.
So yeah, I mean.
So what's that? We have 18 hosts. We're going to check the field this year.
I got 21 on my list now.
We might as well just add 2 hosts. Come on, guys.
Yeah. I mean, this year's different anyway. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how to start parsing these. I mean, ultimately it's just, for me, it's got to be just a matter of who do we have the most confidence in, because I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it's too early to go straight resume. I mean, if you want to push your chips in on Oregon, we can do that. For me, I don't know, man. That feels a little.
I mean, do you like Oregon State more than Oregon staying power wise?
I think I do.
At this point?
Yeah. I mean, I'm betting on Abel and Jerpy, and I think I like the position player group better too.
Going chalk, huh?
I mean, Oregon State is also 7-2 in the league. Remember that series they played was non-conference against Oregon. Oregon is 3-3 in the league. So, and they play this weekend, big series.
What do we think about a team like, we talked about Florida State and Miami. What do we think about a team like Virginia Tech, who actually took a series from Miami down at Coral Gables? They're sitting at 11-7 in the league.
They've taken a lot of good series. That's a good call.
It'd be a new host.
Yeah, 5-1, top 25.
Yeah, not bad.
6-3, top 50. Those are good numbers. I mean, the 29 RPI, they've still got work to do, but so does everyone in the ACC, apparently. So
Yeah.
Vatech did also lose the head-to-head series to Florida State, 2 out of 3. I believe that was that in Blacksburg? It was, yeah. So Florida State's resume is interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
they had the one rotten weekend against Pittsburgh, but since then,
right.
I think they've won. They won every. No, I guess they lost the series to Wake Forest at home too. Everybody's
Yeah.
got warts in that
Mhm.
league, man. It's just
Yeah, I don't think the ACC is the way to go here. I think we had plenty of contenders. I think, if you want to go Pac-12, you think one of those guys are, because right now we've got just Arizona.
right.
So there's wins to be had. Someone is going to elevate, and who's going to be that number 2 team? That's who
Right.
needs to get one of these spots.
Yeah, for sure. So, Kendall, who do you like as the second team in the Pac-12 besides Arizona? I think for me, I lean right now toward Oregon State, but you can make a case for Oregon or even UCLA if you want to.
I'm okay with Oregon State.
Okay. So let's put the Beavers in here. Let's slide them in for the sake of this discussion. Let's slide them in at 13, right behind Tennessee at 12 is what I've currently got. Hold on, Mark. Let me make sure we're looking at the same worksheet here. I'll send this to you.
Okay. Because I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to use the force, but it's a little rusty.
You got to practice.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got that would leave us with 3 spots if we have Tennessee and Oregon State in there. Florida. I mean, I think Louisville for me. I still, again, I know their RPI stinks right now, but for me, they're the next ACC team. Because I think they're going to win the league. We don't have to have Florida, but they did just win a series from Ole Miss, so they've shown us a little something now. 33 in the RPI. They have work to do. And then you got South Carolina, which would be what, the 7th SEC team? Is that right? Vanderbilt, Arkansas.
Don't make me count.
Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Florida would be 6. So, I mean, we could take Florida or South Carolina as a 6th SEC host. Or we could take them both.
Well, there are always a lot of teams in the Carolinas. So
that's true.
That if we're talking about that yet, I don't know what the rules are, but if we are,
no, I think that's worth bringing up. And also, we could just take Miami over Florida, and they did win the head-to-head in Gainesville. They're actually higher in the RPI. Now, I have more faith in Florida still long-term, but, I mean, if you're looking at resume, Miami's got the better resume.
So.
And when they won the head-to-head, and that gives you 1 fewer SEC team. Now, we're not getting much from Kendall on this, just a blank stare.
Yeah. It's past his bedtime, man. This is late.
Well, it's we can blame Al Leiter for that, getting us off to a late start tonight. Thanks, Al.
So
Kendall is not bringing a lot here.
Yeah. So let me jump in.
Please do, Marcus.
With what I'm looking at here, you've got Miami at 15, South Carolina at 16, Florida at 17. Okay. So assuming that's the sequence that we want to go with, then it comes down to, okay, both Miami and South Carolina won series from Florida, right?
Yeah.
I didn't dream that. So you can defend this decision. Looking at some of the other teams there, Georgia Tech, Florida State, UCLA, Oregon, Virginia Tech. Would you take any of those over Miami or South Carolina?
ACC, you can almost put them in a hat, but I think Miami has the best resume. They have the best RPI. They're 10-7 in the league. For me, they feel like the safest bet.
Yeah.
then make it so.
I mean, they did get just slaughtered at home by Florida State, so there's that. I mean,
Yeah, well, okay, so let's look at Miami versus Florida State. I mean, look at more than just okay. The head-to-head is important.
Yep.
I never want to poo-poo that, right? But there are, there's going to be almost maybe 60 games, 55 to 60 games before this thing's over. So we need to look at all of that, evaluate it, throw it all in the gumbo, and stir it up. and then
Yeah. Well,
decide
remember too, the
what we
committee
want to do.
claims all they do is look at a win as a win and a loss as a loss.
right,
They don't necessarily look at how it was done.
right. But if we're looking at who's better, I mean, whatever it was, 106-2. over 3
Head-to-head
games.
needs to matter at some point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
But I mean, if you're Miami, does
not the
even though
only
you
thing
lost
that
the head to head, does the fact that you took 2 or 3 from Florida on the road kind of cancel that out?
I mean, it's a
it could.
data point in their favor, certainly. I'm not arguing for Florida over Miami though. I'm posing Florida State over Miami.
Mm-hmm. So Florida State,
They're 51 in the RPI.
yeah, that's a problem. But so does everyone in the ACC, right?
Yeah, Louisville's 58.
Yeah, Miami and Notre
so-
Dame the only teams in the teens.
Well,
I
let's
like
look
Yeah,
at
I
what
would go
Miami-
Miami here. Yeah, I don't.
Let's look at Miami's staying power. So Miami's remaining schedule at Pitt, Clemson, at UNC, at Boston College, Georgia Tech at home, and at Louisville. It's not necessarily an easy road to end
no.
the season. Oof.
Florida State is playing better now, other than that one bad series with Wake. With series wins, I mean, after the Pittsburgh thing, and they never want to speak of that again. But 2 of 3 of Virginia, 2 of 3 Virginia Tech, absolutely, demolishing Miami, 34-2.
Yeah.
Then the Wake Forest thing we mentioned. Then a series win over North Carolina, and now there's Louisville this weekend. So it's on the road, and I don't like their chances, but things don't set up that terrible for them down the stretch. They are playing better. If I'm playing devil's advocate right now, they're trending in the right direction.
I would agree. But Miami is also really, since the Florida State series, they've played very well last couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, we're going round and round here.
Yeah. Let's make a call.
We should just pick somebody. I feel like I have more long-term
Peter's.
faith in Florida State, but I think Miami right now is probably the easier choice based on
Yeah.
the metrics. So let's just do that because it's pretty close.
Okay. It's
So
defensible.
yeah.
Yeah,
So here's what we got for our top 16 national seeds. And I would suggest for now we just stick with these as our hosts also, and we can discuss it more next time. I mean, unless whatever, I mean, we can discuss it now. Our top 16 national seeds
Go ahead,
are
Greg.
Vanderbilt, Arkansas, TCU, Texas Tech. So 2 SEC, 2 Big 12 at the top. Ole Miss, East Carolina, Notre Dame, Arizona. Those are your top 8 national seeds. Mississippi State 9, Texas 10, Louisiana Tech 11, Tennessee 12, Oregon State 13, Louisville 14, South Carolina 15, Miami 16. It is a gumbo. It is a murky gumbo. Stir it up a little bit, and we'll see.
There's a whole lot of stuff in it.
It's a very
There's a
thick
lot.
gumbo. You can't see through it very well.
Yeah, it's
good over rice, though.
That's right. This is going to be such a fascinating year. But anyway, so that's what we got for that. Do we want to, make one of these teams a 1 seed on the road in Ann Arbor or someplace, or should we just not
Yeah,
worry about that right now?
So let's talk about that. So of these 16 we just mentioned, I'm looking at who would have an issue of hosting a regional under these conditions. Would Oregon State, would that be the one to question? I don't know. Notre Dame?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think
the thing about Oregon State is that would only be 2 West Coast hosts. So I think the committee would definitely want to try to find a way to have 2 West Coast hosts. Like, I don't think they want just one.
So-
If they have any control over it whatsoever.
Even though it doesn't really help them as far as minimizing travel because there's really nobody
Right,
that
it's
can
still a
drive to
flight.
Corvallis. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Oregon can't go there.
Yeah. I mean, Gonzaga could drive.
Yeah,
That's about it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could
Boise
send in
gave
the
up baseball.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we're maybe on the hosting we're chalk here too. I mean, yeah,
I think that's the easiest thing to do right now. But we
Oregon
can.
State's going to be an interesting one. I think in future for next week, I'm going to do some homework on that one and see if Oregon State plans to bid for a regional, which we'll know that we should be able to find out next week who all actually is going to bid for a regional.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would make this a whole lot easier.
It will be helpful. Well, let's stick with these 16 national seeds as our hosts, and let's plow ahead to part 2 of the podcast, and we'll try to pick up the pace a little bit. I know it's hard. With the first one of the year, we're trying to establish the baseline, but
Kendall's trying to help by not saying anything.
yeah, he is. He's really
Well, no, I just had that one. I was sitting there actually, I was actually looking at schedules and was actually like surprising myself in the sense that I'm like kind of bullish on South Carolina. Like,
Yeah.
I was looking at its remaining schedule and it's just like, wow, like this actually sets up pretty well.
I
They have
think they're gonna
Tennessee.
host.
Yeah, I mean, they have Tennessee, Mississippi State, Arkansas all at home. Like, that
Yeah.
sets up really well for those guys.
That's a good point. They've already played Vanderbilt in Florida.
Yeah.
Very interesting. We could move them up a spot or two if you want. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, they're trending upward. They get Missouri home this week, and they get battered LSU on the road next week. I mean, boy, they're going to finish pretty strong.
Let's put
They
'em,
finally kind of have a bona fide stud in the Sunday roll.
let's put it back to back with Tennessee then. Tennessee 12, South Carolina 13, Oregon State 14, Louisville 15, Miami 16. That's your updated. That's your
Like-
final.
There we
Book
go.
it,
So
Dino.
Tennessee, South Carolina, Oregon State, Louisville.
Yep.
in
And in Miami.
All right.
So part 2 of the Nerdcast, we're going to take a conference by conference look at our projected regional teams. Try to come up with some kind of a early projection for our conference or
Yeah.
regular season champions and at-large teams. So alphabetical order of as always. We are going to start with what do we start with? The America East. And our preseason pick here was Hartford. And Hartford is 6-6. Stony Brook, however,
Stony
just
Brook.
made like a 100-point jump in the RPI.
Yeah.
Last.
Let's go with the Brook here.
Go the Brook, 8-0 in the league, 12-7 overall. Stony Brook, we've got a change from the preseason. On to the American guys. I'm pretty sure we're going to make this a one bid league, which is very unusual for this conference. But East Carolina, I think, is the only team I feel good about here.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah. I would put Wichita State as a team to watch. They did get a big series win, winning 3 out of 4 at U of H over the weekend. So I'd at least put them on the board as a team to
Yeah.
watch.
They look
Right.
like the next team. I mean, they're
Right.
15-9 overall. Everybody else is like right around 500, and they're 58th in the RPI.
Right. We thought it would be Tulane here, but it's just not happening.
Right.
Well, that's weird. By the way, Wichita State, who just played a 4-game series against Houston. Oh, by the way, they come back and play 4 games against Houston at home this weekend.
Saw that. Isn't
That's
that odd?
strange.
That is odd.
I guess they're minimizing the COVID risk.
I
don't
guess so.
Maybe
Just
there was
humor me if that's not the case.
there some kind of a cancellation or something? I mean, who knows? I don't know. Let's go on to the A10. We'll put Wichita State on the worksheet as a bubble team. A10, we had Fordham in the preseason. I still feel really good about that pick.
Yeah.
Matt Mikulski dealing.
Scary Friday night opponent for sure with Mikulski on the mound.
So let's stick with the Rams.
I love it when you guys talk about guys I have never heard of.
Dude, he's a lefty up to like 94. Let's go, Mark.
Richmond, the Spiders also a good start at 11-6, so keep an eye on those guys.
I'll know it next week.
ACC.
ACC.
Oh boy, this is ridiculous.
What a mess.
So we've got Notre Dame in, we've got Louisville in, we've got Miami in.
Yep. Georgia Tech should be in.
Yep. Georgia Tech, Florida State,
Florida State.
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech should be in. Okay, so then it's North Carolina, Clemson, Pitt.
Yeah, I would have Pitt in. I think, boy, oh boy. Yeah, let's put North Carolina.
They won tonight,
Clemson.
by the way.
They did win tonight against the Gamecocks.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a big win for them. They needed it. They've been struggling. Yeah, North Carolina and Clemson, and I think that's it, guys. Wake Forest is 5-9 in the league.
Yeah.
State's 5-10. BC's
Duke,
4-11.
BC.
Duke 5-10. Virginia 6-12. I mean, all these teams we thought were going to be regional caliber, and they're not right now. So, and I frankly haven't seen enough to give any of them the benefit of projecting some big surge. So I'm comfortable with what's that? 8: Notre Dame, Louisville, Miami,
9.
Georgia Tech, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, North Carolina, Clemson. That's still 9. Yeah. I mean, we could put North Carolina and Clemson as bubble teams right now.
Yeah. Clemson's certainly trending the right direction, though.
No doubt. Okay. Let's go to the A-Sun.
Well, it's
Uh,
Liberty and Stetson and
I kind of like
Gulf Coast.
Liberty here.
Yeah,
Those
Liberty.
are the three.
Liberty went on that really long run, that big long win streak. I think
Liberty is 1, I think, and then Stetson, Florida Gulf Coast would be. If the A-Sun can get a second team, it's one of those two.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think either of them are, but they're not to be forgotten.
Yeah, and Stetson certainly has talent. They just swept
Mhm.
Jacksonville. They lost a tight one at Florida this evening, 7-6. They do have a head-to-head series win against Gulf Coast, 2 out of 3. They have played Alabama on the road, won 1 out of 3 at Alabama.
Right.
They
Those were
split a
good
couple-
games. Yeah.
Split a couple with Wichita State. Beat UCF twice midweek. So they've actually played some quality opponents and won. The thing that's hurting them is, 4 games against North Alabama. North Alabama is 4-22, just destroying their opponent's winning percentage. That's going to be hard to overcome.
So you want to be D1, huh?
Yeah, right. But yeah, we could put Stetson on the bubble.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. I think that's going to be hard to overcome, though.
Yeah.
It feels like it's going to be one bid league. We'll put them on the worksheet, and we will move on to the Big 12.
Sure.
Mark, take the lead here.
TCU.
Yep.
Texas Tech, Texas, Oak State.
Yep.
And then to be considered would be Baylor and Oklahoma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Both teams are 1-5 in the league, but Baylor at least is 19-10 overall.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks in.
Yep. I mean, Kansas State. If you're going to consider those two, you might as well consider Kansas State.
Might as well, yeah.
Just to consider it from Texas Tech.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of conviction in Oklahoma and K-State, but we'll see.
Do you have conviction in any of these teams? Baylor, Oklahoma, K-State.
Baylor would be the one.
Baylor would be the team for me that I think would have the most potential.
Spoiler alert, I ended up with them in Baylor.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you on that. Should we put Oklahoma and Kansas State on the bubble? I mean, are they comparable to North Carolina and Clemson?
I had them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Open to listening.
I think I'm with you there. They haven't really shown me enough right now. And they're way back there in the RPI and in the conference standings. So let's just leave them out right now. I think that's easy enough to do.
Sure.
So that's 5 for the Big 12: Texas Tech, TCU, Texas, Oklahoma State, Baylor. It feels like it should be more than that, but some teams got to do some
Good
work.
league. All right.
It's actually number 3 in the conference RPI. I would have thought 2, but it's not the case. On to the Big East. UConn was our preseason pick. Despite the fact that Villanova is number one in the RPI, I still actually like UConn here.
Or St. John's. That would
Or
be
St.
the other
John's.
option.
Yeah.
It's really those 3, and I think Villanova is going to come back to earth here shortly.
I feel good about UConn. I really like their talent. I like the way that they tested themselves with. I mean, their schedule was very challenging.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
they really held their own against it, even though they didn't win any of those series.
Okay. Can't argue with that.
Okay. And Kendall, feel free to chime in anytime if you disagree with us.
No, I'm good with UConn.
On to, what are we at? The Big South. Our preseason pick was Campbell.
No. It's really only 2 choices here. It's Campbell and Upstate. Those have been the 2 best teams so far.
I will tell you that I like Upstate more, having watched those 2 teams a couple of times between the fall and saw them play each other. Of course, I saw Upstate win that game, and then Campbell came back and swept the doubleheader the next day. But I still actually like Upstate's talent better, and they're actually 34th in the RPI. They're 19-6 overall. I mean, for me, it's Upstate.
Yeah, let's go with Upstate.
Works for me.
And they play again later this year.
Indeed. To the Big Ten.
Michigan.
Yeah, this should be interesting. So this is one where I think you don't throw the RPIs out, but just remember that they're not playing any non-conference games. And so there's only so much value you can glean from the RPI. We're mostly just looking at the overall records here.
Exactly.
Nebraska, Michigan, Ohio State, and then probably one more.
Nebraska?
Maybe one more.
So Nebraska's doing well so far.
Yep.
So I think that's the thing. I think from this league, they're going to take the top X teams in the league standings. I think RPI is, you just forget about it. Maybe for seeding, but for who gets in, it's maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4, but I don't think it's more than that.
I like 4 here. I like Michigan, Nebraska, Indiana, Ohio State. Ohio State for Indiana.
So Iowa would be the other team I would look at. If you look at who they've already played some of the tougher teams, and its schedule's going to get a little bit easier. So that was because initially I had the same 4, and I ended up swapping Iowa for Indiana.
Really?
So I think we need to include all 5 in the discussion, and then we can play the what if game down the stretch.
That's fair. You make a good point. Iowa has played Michigan. They lost 3 out of 4. They've played Ohio State 3 times and they've played Ohio State 4 times. It's kind of a weird scattered schedule with the pods and everything, but I think they've split those 4 games, split 4 with Nebraska, beaten Maryland twice, and won a series at Purdue. So it's actually, it's not a bad resume, Mark.
Yeah.
So we could put Iowa. You're pretty good at this. We'll put Iowa and Indiana both in yellow as bubble teams on our worksheet. On we go to the Big West. Santa Barbara, of course, was our preseason pick. I still feel good about that. I know Irvine is in first place by a game, but the Gauchos for me are the team, and I feel like it's probably a 1-bid league.
Do you think Irvine has a chance?
Yeah, they should be on the list. I mean, they're in first place. They're 10-2. 57th currently in the RPI. I don't have much faith in that holding up.
All right. Does Poly have any chance to get back into it?
Yeah. I mean, I think they're a pretty good club.
Yeah, they certainly have to win the conference automatic bid.
You think so?
Their RPI is 194.
But if they win the when say they're second in the league, you don't think that in this odd year, you don't think that holds anything? Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't.
Maybe. I mean, they do have series wins over SC and UCLA in non-conference.
That's true.
Yeah, I had them on my board. They ended up not making it, but I looked hard at them.
I think that's
a weird resume.
Yeah, the home series loss to UC San Diego is a surprise. After you take series from UCLA and USC, you lose to a first-year Division I team.
Yeah, that is odd.
3 out of 4, no less. And UC San Diego has a very good program for a long time at the D2 level, but this is a little different. Anyway,
okay.
Yeah, I would say for me, Poly is on the radar, but probably not yet on the list. I think. Yeah, let's do Santa Barbara and Irvine on the bubble. I believe that would be it. But yeah, Poly's worth mentioning. Glad you brought him up. Keeping us honest, Marcus.
Yep.
Let's go to the Colonial. Preseason pick was UNC Wilmington. This is one of those leagues that they split it up based on geography, north and the south. Northeastern was another team that I really liked in the preseason. They're 10-6 currently. They haven't played a conference game.
I think it's too early for Northeastern. I mean, they're certainly a team within striking distance, lots to play for at this point. But Wilmington is the one bid right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Team that I have the most faith in. Mm-hmm. But they did just play College of Charleston and lose that series, 2 out of 3. So Charleston's 5-4. Keep an eye on those guys too. That's another team that seems to be playing better after a rough start.
Well, they challenged themselves, right? They did play some good teams, Charleston.
Yeah, they played Alabama. They were swept by USC Upstate. They actually just lost the series this weekend to James Madison, so they took a step back after they won the series from Wilmington. But yeah, let's go with Wilmington here, and we will move along to Conference USA.
Yeah, I mean, La Tech, Southern Miss, and ODU seem like slam dunks to me.
And Charlotte too.
Charlotte as well, yeah.
Charlotte
I think it's 4-bid league.
Yeah, Charlotte, I think, just swept a 4-game series from FAU. Pretty loud.
Yeah, right. FAU's out now. I mean, their RPI sitting at 87.
Yep.
Wasn't that long ago they were a top 25 team.
You're right.
So how about Conference USA? I mean, this is like 15 years ago when they were trying to break into the upper tier. This is a.
Did you ever think they'd be back to being a 4-bid league and Rice would be in last place?
And Rice wouldn't be one of them. Yeah.
Wild. That's wild. I would like to get up and take a look at Old Dominion. That's an intriguing club to me. 21-5 overall, 7-1 in the league. They're interesting.
Yeah, they got a really good ace. Hunter Gregory's a really talented pitcher.
Yep.
And it's so weird because I was looking at this earlier. They could have 4 teams make regionals and all of them be 1 or 2 seeds. I mean, it's not even a bubble situation.
Yeah. You know what's going to be interesting is Old Dominion plays 8 straight games against Charlotte, end of April and early May. So they go 4 games at Charlotte and then 4 games up at ODU. So that's going to be a very revealing little meat grinder stretch for those 2 teams.
Right. So one of them could knock the other one out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Really good.
But yeah, we'll put them all in for now, 4 bids, and we'll advance to the horizon.
I mean, I don't think this is
right
much discussion. Right?
Yeah, indeed. Our preseason pick remains the pick. Clearly the most talented team. That's a team that could win a regional. I'm telling you. Watch out for those guys. Quinnipiac was our preseason bid in the MAC. But I think right now you've got to look at undefeated Fairfield, number 3 in the RPI. You got to look at Monmouth, 11-1. You got to look at Ryder at 9-3. Niagara's 8-4. What has gotten into the MAC?
This is a new power league.
But then you got Marist and St. Peter who still haven't played.
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
I heard that I've heard from a Marist player who, those guys are really, really, really hungry to get on the field and heartbroken that their administration won't let them. There's been some stories like that this year. It's your heart goes out.
Apparently, like they have to have below a 2.8% positive rate, which, by the way, 2.8% is insanely low. Like, what the hell are you doing up there, Maris?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's ridiculous.
But I feel for those kids.
2.8, is that blood alcohol content? Sorry.
So we got Monmouth, Fairfield, Ryder, Niagara. Quinnipiac, by the way, is 2-10, our preseason pick. That's not working out real well.
Let's throw the Stags a bone. They're number 3 in the RPI.
I mean, yeah, they are. They swept Canisius.
Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, right. Like, let's put them as a 4 seed.
Swept Canisius. They swept Iona. But let's at least look at Monmouth, who's 11-1.
Yeah,
send them to Nashville.
Monmouth took 3 out of 4 from Quinnipiac. They swept Manhattan. The Jaspers are 1-7.
See, there we go.
Swept Tony Rossi's Fighting Saints of Siena. They're 3-9. So I mean, you can't really read anything into these results.
Very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, fine. Go with the Stags. Throw them a bone.
Yeah.
Fairfield it is.
Bandy's gonna be really mad when they get the number 3 RPI team as their 4 seed.
Yeah,
how is this fair?
Tough draw, Vandy.
We'll have to throw their ace. Wait,
we should
have several.
That's right. They'll be all right. We'll have to
what would Jack Leiter do against Fairfield? That's the question.
We have to patch in Mac beat writer Mike Rooney next time, so he can actually drop some knowledge.
He might have St. Peter's in, even though they may never play a game.
Runes did our Mac preview and really researched the heck out of it, so he probably has more insight on this than we do. Look forward for that next time. Let's go to the Mid-American Conference. Kent State was our preseason team. The Flashes are 12-11 overall, 5-3 in the league. I think Miami, Ohio is the team that has gotten up to the best start. They're 10-2. Yeah.
I'm with you there. That was my
pick. They have some good arms too. Like they passed the eyeball test.
I will say that, Kent State has played a good schedule now. They played 2 at Virginia Tech, which they lost to start the season. Swept Tennessee Tech. They went to Starkville and won 1 out of 3 at Mississippi State. Took 2 out of 3 from Seton Hall. But they did lose. They had 2 bad weeks in a row after that. Lost a bad home series, 3 out of 4 to Northern Illinois and 3 out of 4 to Dayton. So they kind of have lost some credibility the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Ball State would actually have a very good argument here. They split a 4-game series with Arizona on the road, and they took a series from Kentucky in Lexington.
Yeah, Ball State is a very intriguing nominee here. Again, a team that is a little battle tested. They've shown us something as good competition.
Let's go with Ball State.
I think I'm with you.
I mean, that's actually a pretty solid resume.
It is. I'm with you. Ball State.
They did get swept by ODU on the road, by the way. Speaking of Conference USA.
Another feather in ODU's cap. So that's a change in the preseason. Kent State goes to Ball State. I think Ball State was one of the teams that we regarded as a real contender anyway, one of the favorites in that league. Miami, Ohio, too. I mean, they have some guys. So the MEAC.
Ooh, rough year so far for this league.
Yeah, that's...
Jeez.
I previewed this league, and it was one of the proud moments in my journalistic career. But I think I'm going to still go with North Carolina Central here.
It would be the feel-good story.
Just based on everything that's going on, right? So
I like it. I mean, and they actually have a couple arms. I mean, you throw in was Austin Vernon.
Yeah, right. He's the big 6'8" guy, right?
Yeah. He's interesting.
And he's thick, which we can relate to. Some of us can.
Speak for yourself, Marcus. Yeah, let's go with the Eagles.
I'm a lot thicker. On my honeymoon, I gained 8 pounds.
Atta boy, he's doing it right.
You're thick. THICC, baby.
Yeah, I'm down about 4 of those, but I've still got 4 more to go. So Austin Vernon, hey, we're kind of kin right now.
Kindred spirits for sure.
Other than him being 6'8" and me not.
Well, you throw 95.
Yeah, you both throw 95. Get that going for you.
Well, left-handed.
Yeah. That's right. Central it is. I like it. I'm with you on that pick. You got to look at the Rattlers as well as a candidate.
Yeah.
But we'll go with Central. They're also, I think, above 500 overall. They're 10-8, so good for them.
Yeah.
Dallas Baptist is the Missouri Valley Conference preseason pick. I
Indiana
still feel
State replaces them.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
interesting. I mean, Indiana State is 13th in the RPI. They played a good schedule. They won 2 out of 3 at FAU, swept Florida International on the road, split 4 at Tennessee, lost 2 out of 3 versus Pitt at home. So there's your Indiana State resume. DBU, now Indiana State, by the way, has not played a conference game yet. DBU is 4-0 in the league. That's a sweep over Valpo, who's not very good. Other than that, I mean, you got series wins over the likes of UT, Rio Grande Valley, Tarleton. They lost a series at home to Oral Roberts. They had a good weekend in Frisco. Beat Missouri twice, Oklahoma, lost to Arizona. Split 4 with Gonzaga. I mean, you know, I still think DBU is not to be dismissed out of hand.
Oh, not at all.
But
But
yeah,
they're also
Indiana State has the better case at this moment. And really, are we talking about is this a one bid situation, or could
Yeah.
one of them get a second bid?
I mean, you've got Southern Illinois that got off to that great start and then has struggled, I think, the last 2 weeks, but they're 66th in the RPI, 21-6. I don't know that they have staying power.
Yeah.
DBU has a long way to go RPI wise, but you know, they can make up a good chunk of ground. But yeah, I mean, if we were to project DBU as the auto bid, then you could potentially put in Indiana State as an at-large, but I
You
don't
could.
know that you could go the other way.
Yeah, I went Indiana State, and I thought I heard Kendall do the same. So I don't
Yeah,
think it really
6.
matters what Aaron thinks.
That's fair. Why am I even talking? Look at Kendall not sticking up for the Texas team here. This is really kind of
I
disgraceful.
know it's off brand.
I'm very biased for the fight in 6
So Kendall, you got DBU out.
for now.
Okay. So be
Hater.
it. Patriot fans, if you're listening,
Yeah,
Aaron Fitz stood up for you, was trampled upon.
That's Kendall hates your team at D1.com.
That's right. Exactly. San Diego State was our preseason pick in
Yeah.
the Mountain West, and they remain the pick. That's a team that I think could win a regional.
For sure.
No argument. Not that it matters to me. You
That's
guys
right. We got quorum. 16-6 overall, 11-4 in the league, 44 in the RPI. Could this be a 2-bid league? I mean, it's actually a pretty strong 5th in the conference RPI, guys.
Are you eyeing Air Force?
I'm throwing them out there. They're currently 23rd in the RPI, 12-9 overall, 6-6 in the league. They're undefeated against LSU, 1-0.
And Kendall, that's Air Force, not Space Force.
Do I have that right? The LSU thing? I don't even know if that's right.
Yeah.
I thought
Okay.
Aaron was googling Space Force on
Space Force.
warrennolan.com.
I did not have that right. They split 2 at LSU. Thanks, Warren. Way to have your website results messed up. We should not be using that website anyway. We should be using D1Baseball.
Let's just go one bid for now. Come on, Air
right.
Force. Let's go.
Fair enough. But Air Force is on the radar.
Oh, yeah.
They
We're
swept
watching you.
Swept UNLV, took 2 and 3 from Nevada the last couple of weeks. Pretty good.
I'm gonna hear a drone over my house for downplaying Air Force's postseason chances.
Yes, you are. To the Bryant Athletic Conference we go, the Northeast.
I had missed that joke.
It's been a while. Are we good with Bryant? 8-1 in
Yeah.
the league.
How can we not be?
Yeah, I think they're the choice. I mean, you know, Central Connecticut 7-2. Whatever. We'll go with Bryant until someone beats them. On we go. Ohio Valley.
So this one was kind of difficult for me. So I looked at, and there's a lot of parity, we'll call it. I ended up going with Murray State, and I don't actually remember why, but that's who I went with. Maybe it's
a lot
because
of conviction in that pick there, Mark.
I knew a guy named Murray growing up, and he wasn't a total dork. So, but that's where I ended up with.
I have a friend who had a dog named Murray, which I think is appropriate.
I love that. That's who I picked. I'm not really sure why I picked him, but that's who I picked. I like Missouri State. They took 2 or 3 from the preseason favorite Jacksonville State. They took 2 or 3 at Memphis from a American team. What else have they done on their resume?
Like Kendall said, that's why I picked them.
They beat Kentucky. Hey, they beat Kentucky in a Tuesday game. Go Racers.
Yeah. All right, make it so.
I mean, it was a no-brainer.
Mark, this was your league that you previewed in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken. And so if you say Murray State with conviction, then I'm gonna say, all right.
Well, I think Jacksonville State has the best talent, but they just haven't really figured it out yet. So watch for them in the conference tournament.
Yeah,
5-4 in the league. Jacksonville just lost 2 out of 3 at SEMO, and they of course lost 2 out of 3 at Murray State. So Racers it is. On we go. Pac-12. Down the stretch we come. We've already got the Wildcats of Arizona. We've got the Beavers. Oregon is in. UCLA we're going to have in. Stanford. Indeed.
Yep.
Oregon State. Hold on.
Oregon, Arizona State.
Yes, Arizona State. Indeed.
So then you got Cal. They have a really nice record. They have they're at this point in the season, they have a good conference record. I wrote today that they have 1 game out of their, I don't know, how many games they played, 20 something, against a team with a better RPI than 108.
Oh my.
So again, if they finish high in their conference, that may not matter, but they better, because they won't have anything else if they don't.
Yeah. I'm fine leaving them out for now. I'm just not sure they have staying power.
Right.
So again, it's where do you stack them up against those other teams we mentioned? If you think they're going to finish higher in the standings, then
I do not.
They're in the discussion. If not, then they got a shot.
Yeah, I do not think they will.
I'm with Kendall. I kind of feel good about Arizona, Oregon State, UCLA, Arizona State, Stanford, Oregon. I mean, we got 6. I think that's a good number for this league.
Okay. I had them out too.
Okay. Also keep an eye on USC, kind of in the same boat. They're 5-4 in the league, 126 in the RPI. So got some work to do. Pac, though, number 4 in conference RPI. I mean, even your teams at the bottom, Washington State's 2-7, but they're above 500 overall. That's good for the league. And Washington has started to heat up after a very bad start. So, interesting momentum for the Pac-12.
Okay.
On to the Patriot. I think we had Navy in the preseason. We did. They're 7-3 overall, 3-3 in the league.
It's Lehigh, Army, or Navy. I mean, those are the 3 contenders at this point.
You've narrowed it down, Mark.
Yeah, I'm saving
3 out of 6 is a 50% chance we'll pick the right team.
Hey, that's 30 seconds back. I just gave you.
No respect for the pride of Worcester County, the Holy Cross Crusaders. I will not forget this.
Well, I'm a known hater of Holy Cross.
It's true.
I took the Kendall Rogers I Hate Your Team course.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what you spent. That was your pandemic reading, was learning how to hate teams more.
Yeah, LinkedIn learning. I'm on board.
Army is 12-11 overall, 7-3 in the league. Looking for head-to-heads here. He lost 3 out of 4 at Bucknell, but came back, swept Holy Cross and Lafayette. I know Kendall's biased for the Leopards.
Yep.
Kendall, we haven't heard any stories about the 2021 Snow Leopards, by the way.
Well, they got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they swept a doubleheader last week, and the teams they play the rest of the year are no good. So Snow Leopards might actually finish 500. Their RPI is getting better.
Love to hear it. And then you got Lehigh, 9-7 overall, 6-2 in the league. Just won 2 out of 3 from Navy. And yeah. I mean, I kind of like their team. I think I did. Did I do this league in the preseason? I might have. I might have done this league.
And they have
I don't
Mason
know.
Black.
They do have Mason Black. Let's go with Lehigh.
All right. Yeah, and that Mason Black guy, whoever he is, he's awesome.
He is. He's a guy. Top 3 rounds.
Big time prospect.
SEC we go. So
Oh,
we've already got a whole bunch of teams in here. So let's see. We've got we have 6 hosts. I think we had 6
Andy,
hosts.
Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Florida's next. So
Yeah. South Carolina, Florida.
So, I'll kick this off. So the other teams that are there, we need to decide how important conference record is going to be. Because I looked at teams like LSU and Alabama and Texas A&M and Georgia and Kentucky. And I think the best that those teams will do is 13-17. Maybe they shock some people, but if you look at how things have gone to this point,
Yeah.
that's probably the best that they can. And some of them are going to be worse than that. So how important is it in this different season? Because 13-17 is the best that an SEC team has, or the worst an SEC team has done and made it in. 12-18 doesn't make it in. So if you're LSU, and you probably are one of the top 25, 30 best teams in the country, but your SEC record is 11-19 or 12-18, are you done? And this year, which is kind of different than the rest.
And now you take Jaden Hill out of the equation. They still have arms.
Right.
But I mean, you're losing a first round arm.
Yeah. And, and I looked at LSU, and they will, what was the quote? Oh, man, I need to go look at it. It was, y'all talk while I look this up. It was
Kentucky. Well, Mark Stahls is 5-4 in the league, and they got LSU at home this weekend. LSU's kind of reeling. I mean, it feels like the kind of weekend that LSU finds a way. Historically, this is like what they do if they're back against the wall, which their backs are very much against the wall.
They're not making the postseason.
There you go.
They may, because they have the better chance if you look at their record. I mean, their schedule compared to the other teams that we're talking about here. It's more favorable. They could finish 13-17, 14-16, where I'm having trouble finding a path for LSU and Alabama and even Georgia to make it there.
What about Alabama? They're supposed to get Prelit back next weekend.
No, that's a game changer. We don't know what they're like because they walked a small village this weekend against Tennessee, right? They had 12 walks in one game and 9 in another. If Prelit and Antoine John are back, then oh my, they're a different team.
Exactly.
But they're, how do you know? At this point, it's just conjecture, right? But the quote that I was looking up, that thank you for stalling, LSU heads to Kentucky next weekend before facing South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Arkansas, giving them series against 6 of the current D1 top 11 in an 8-week span.
Yeah.
That is freaking brutal, guys.
Yeah.
So
and
they're not done with it. I mean, they're
Right.
1-8 now, and they're only halfway done with it.
Yeah.
How are they going to get to a place where we can, especially losing him, where we can justify giving them a bid?
You can't. You
Yeah.
can't. And I mean, I would again. I think right now they're even the underdog this weekend at Kentucky.
Yeah, right, on the road. Yeah, I would agree, especially while they figure out the whole who's going to pitch on Saturdays, and bump everybody up deal.
Yeah.
I actually like Kentucky's team. I mean, they've answered a lot of the questions I had about them. I feel okay about having Kentucky in.
I mean, they were a bubble team for me that ended up in, and part of the reason they got in is because I did not have LSU in. I did not have Georgia in.
Right.
I mean, they were a bubble team. And then Alabama, I didn't know how to feel about them because I don't know what their pitching situation is like. It's not good right now. I mean, but hell, who can lose your top 2 starters and feel good about your rotation?
Yeah.
So, especially a guy who's a 1-1 candidate, in 2023 or
Right.
22, whatever he is. So, I think that, those Alabama is kind of an unknown for me, but LSU's in trouble.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm with you on that. For me,
Yeah.
I'm crossing off Auburn and Missouri right now. Auburn's just too deep of a hole. Missouri's just not good enough, and also in a hole with their overall record.
the only thing I'll say about Auburn is they played a lot better this weekend. I mean,
Yep.
Yeah, they
had
did.
3 one-run games with Arkansas. They won one of them. If you can do that, you can play with anybody.
That is very true.
So they may be figuring it out, and if Fitz gets right, then who knows? But I agree with you right now. They're certainly not a regional team, but they could be. But is their hole too big? So kind of like LSU, or it's just at the point where you've got to win some games, and you probably got to sweep somebody just to
Right.
get conference wins. But I'm basing this off of what we've always done, where you need to be 13-17 with a really good RPI to get in the SEC. If you're 14-16, your RPI can be a little worse. If you're 15-15, hey, your RPI may not be good at all, right? Maybe top 40, 45. But if you're 12-18 or 11-19 this year, do you get some leeway because you may have had less non-conference opportunities, or or other leagues did something, so you get the benefit of that, right? I don't know.
I feel like because the SEC is still playing the same number of conference games.
You would think so, right? I agree with you. I agree. But if everyone else is different, does that make the SEC view their perception just a little bit off? So if somebody else, maybe they would have been a 5-bid league, and now there are 4, and there's an extra spot, right? And somebody who we all think is a really good team, and maybe they closed pretty well, but just dug a huge hole. Maybe you can get in that way. I don't know. I'm just playing the games here, but right now, I think I like Kentucky's chances better than those other teams that we mentioned, and maybe Alabama if Prelude comes back, then I mean that's a legitimate shot in the arm.
Yeah,
they're a different club, but
Kendall, what do you got on A&M?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of conviction in those guys. I mean, they lost again tonight. RPI's triple digits. I mean, if you look at the remaining schedule for the Aggies, I mean, they still have Tennessee, at Arkansas, at Mississippi State, Ole Miss, at Auburn. Kind of like a lot of these teams at the bottom of this league, like it's a very difficult road to 13, 14 wins.
Yeah.
I would have them out.
Okay.
I would too, and especially with their RPI where it is.
Yeah,
they've
that's
got
tough.
a lot of ground to. So if you're 13-17 and your RPI is 20, it's a lot different than if it's 60, 50.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's what I would say also. I think Alabama and Kentucky would be the two teams that I would add in here. Alabama, first of all, they did themselves a service in the non-conference. I mean, they played some solid teams and won those series. McNeese, Wright State, Charleston, Stetson. Those are all quality weekends. None of those are going to kill you, even though Charleston actually does not have a good RPI. It's a team that's
But
actually
they did that on the road.
on the road, and it's a team that's
Okay.
playing better of late. That's trending in the right direction. They're over some COVID issues. So yeah, I mean, so first of all, Alabama kind of had a nice foundation there with the non-conference. Secondly, they've already played probably three of the tougher weekends on their schedule. There's a lot of tough weekends,
Yeah.
but I mean, they played
Certainly.
at Arkansas versus Ole Miss and Tennessee. Now, you would have liked to have won one of those series at home. But I think the rest of the schedule is fairly manageable. I mean, the next 4 weeks, especially at A&M versus Auburn, at Kentucky versus Missouri. And then, of course, you close with at Vandy, at LSU versus Mississippi State. So they don't play South Carolina or Florida, which I think is probably helpful. So I kind of like their chances. I think for me, Kentucky and Alabama would be the two that I would add.
Yeah, it does sound like Prelip is coming back next week. So
And there's that.
Next week against A&M or the following
against
week?
Auburn.
Against Auburn.
Okay. Still
Okay.
a little ways off, but I mean, if they lose that series at A&M, then all of a sudden it might be too big of a hole, and that's on the road. So that's the other consideration here. Is if
Then how would you see that series with Alabama without 2/3 of their rotation?
Yeah, that might be hard. Might be hard to project them to win that series, and if we don't project them to win that series, maybe they should just be out.
Kendall, what do you think about A&M against Alabama throwing?
Probably A&M since they get Bryce Miller back.
Yeah.
So is Bryce Miller going to throw this weekend?
Yeah, he was out for COVID for 2 weeks.
Okay. So, well, for now we'll leave Alabama on the board as a bubble team.
We'd come back to them. Yeah.
Yep. Let's.
Honestly, I mean, the other thing to think about is, are they a different team with Prelip? And if John comes back too, does the committee take that into account? That hey, maybe you win some of those games earlier that you lost, and I mean, certainly no one wants to face them in game one with if he's right on the mound, that's a scary matchup.
No doubt.
So I don't know how much does that matter? That's what we would need to project because the committee's going to be thinking about that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and they could get some leeway for that. I think you're right. That's fair to say. I mean, Georgia's another team that is on the radar. 34th in the RPI, 18-10, 3-6 in the league. I just
don't know where they found enough conference wins. I really, I looked at this hard today and trying to think. Okay, well, this is a really good league, but those teams at the top are going to win so many games.
Right.
The Vandy's and Arkansas and Ole Miss. I mean, they're going to get a lot of sweeps. And where are those sweeps going to come from? It's going to be from these bubble teams.
Yep.
And that's going to make it harder than in some years with the SEC. We're thinking, maybe they get 11 or maybe they get 12 or something crazy like that. No, I don't know that that's the case this year because the top's just so much better.
Top heavy, no question. All right, let's move on to the Socon here. We're almost there. Socon was Samford in the preseason. That is for me still the team. They're 18-11 overall. They're 8-1 in the league.
I agree.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Southland, we had Sam Houston in the preseason. Sam has started to play better after a rough start. They're 9-1 in the last 10 games. They've won 6 in a row, up to 9-7 in the conference. They swept Central Arkansas in a 4-game road series this past weekend. So the arrow is trending up. But now they also, early in the season, were swept in a 4-game set by Southeastern Louisiana. And Southeastern is in first place at 11-5. That feels like the team.
You got it.
Kendall, are you with me on that?
Yep.
Okay. New Orleans also in that mix at 10-6. But it's going to be a one bid league looking at the RPIs.
Mhm.
The SWAC. we had,
Jackson State,
yeah, this
Yep.
is an easy choice.
boy,
They're
swept
easy.
Alabama State earlier this year.
Yeah. So that's a change from our preseason pick of Alabama State. But yeah, Jackson State. Didn't we have Stitch write a piece? Didn't he go down and see Jackson State and write a
Yeah,
piece
went
on
and
them
saw
this year?
Jackson State and wrote about it. Was when they played Alcorn.
Alcorn, yeah. So in fact, I think they hung a 30 spot on him. I think Stitch was there for that game. So
Good timing.
that was. To the Summit, Mike Rooney, another Mike Rooney preseason league. His preseason pick was the Omaha Mavericks.
All right. Oral Roberts would be along with North Dakota State, right? I think those are the two teams at this point.
Yeah, so North Dakota State is the best record. They're 18-8, which is the only team with a winning overall record in this league. They just split 4 on the road at Omaha. They split 4 on the road at Oral Roberts the week before. I feel pretty good about the Bison here, fellas.
That would be a cool story.
Yeah, let's do it. You really couldn't go wrong with any of these three. They're pretty comparable, but let's go with the Bison.
Yeah, I like it. North Dakota State it is. On we go. Sun Belt.
The Sun Belt will be a change. I'm a little surprised to say the least that Texas State is 13-17.
Yeah, it's struggling.
Oof. I would probably lean South. I would probably have Louisiana in no matter what, and I would have South Owl as a team to put on the board as a team to watch.
You know,
They're playing really well.
each other. They play each other next weekend in Mobile. So heads up.
Ooh, are you going to go to that, Marcus?
I would think there's a pretty good chance of that.
What if I
a game or so?
What if I assign you to cover the whole series? Then you have to go.
Yeah,
well,
let's
I guess
go.
I'm just like I'm handcuffed, right?
You've got to go, or else.
That is. I mean, it looks like the series of the year in the Sun Belt, right in your backyard. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, it's 6 miles away, so it's.
Mark is putting himself in a position where he has no excuse.
Well, I do have to find a sitter. So other than that,
technicalities.
Take your daughter to the ballpark day at South Owl.
She will enjoy about 4 innings and 4 concession stand trips.
Nice.
Baseball is not a fast moving sport, and she is not a fan. But nachos are awesome.
That's right.
Yeah, real quick on the Sun Belt, I would say keep an eye on Coastal. RPI 63. They're 14-9 overall. They did lose 3 out of 4 to Louisiana, but they still have at UTA, Georgia Southern. They go out of conference at Liberty. That Liberty series is going to end up being a big one for Coastal. That gives them a chance to get some RPI points. And then they still have South Owl on the road as well. So still a lot of RPI opportunities.
They can play their way
Coastal. In. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I had the Cajuns here. South Alabama is next. They just don't hit enough for me. I mean, their pitching has been pretty good, and they found some guys that maybe they didn't expect to be, weekend guys who are. And if they continue to pitch well, then their pitching can carry them. They just haven't. Ethan Wilson missed a lot. He missed the first few weeks and then kind of had to play his way back into shape. And they just haven't hit enough. But they may pitch enough where it doesn't matter, to win this league.
Yeah.
Because they have some pitching depth. I mean, they're and they have some offense. They do. But it's just, a lot of times in that league, you can just come in and mash people and, and they've done that in the past. And this year, it's been a pitching heavy.
I'm kind of surprised they haven't hit more. I mean, I like some of their ball.
I agree.
And Ballgard's a very physical, interesting guy. Reed Powers. They have some guys that certainly pass the eye test. But I think that rotation with Booker and Lee and Boswell. I mean, those guys are.
Yeah, I really like Lee. I mean, he's freshman. He looks like he's going to be a stud for them. He really is. He passes the pitchability test. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
he knows what he's doing.
So yeah, let's put. I agree with you on Louisiana having just taken 3 out of 4 from Coastal. Let's make them our auto team here, and let's put South Al on the map as a bubble team, and keep an eye on Coastal. Let's go to the West Coast Conference.
USD.
Yeah, so you've got Gonzaga and you've got San Diego.
Yep.
I'm wondering if this can be a 2-bid league. It's number 9 in conference RPI. I know they seldom get multiple bids, but they look like they have 2 pretty good clubs there at the top.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I like it.
Both.
Yep.
All right.
Gonzaga went out and played some really good teams early on too.
Yeah, they haven't played. When do they play head to head? Yes, okay.
They have a series win at TCU as well.
That's right. Pretty loud. Okay, and they split 4 games at DBU as well. So Gonzaga and San Diego are in, and we finish up with the WAC. Preseason pick here was Sac State. They're 10-2. Cal Baptist, the Lancers are 11-1 in the league. Is Cal Baptist eligible for a regional? Or they're not provisional?
I don't think they are.
Don't know. You don't think they're eligible, or you don't think they're
I don't think they're eligible.
okay?
Well, let's.
I'll find out. You guys stall for me, and I'll find out.
Well, I mean, I think it's moot for me. It's Sac State anyway. I still believe in the veteran talent there, and I still have a little more faith. But yeah, I mean, Cal Baptist, man, those guys a lot of credit. 18-7 overall. They've done a nice job.
Yeah.
So all right, let's. Are we good with Sac State?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that gives us only 67 teams for 64 spots, and that's with a pretty generous bubble. Now we don't have an Ivy League qualifier, so they give us 1 extra at-large bid. But so here's our bubble teams. We got to trim 3 of the following: Wichita State, North Carolina, Clemson, Stetson, Iowa, Indiana, UC Irvine, Kentucky, Alabama, South Alabama. Those are the teams. We need to trim 3 of them.
My first cut would be Wichita.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the league's just not good enough to sustain 2 bids. Okay, I'm with you. Stetson, are we concerned there with the RPI?
Yeah, 93 RPI.
Yeah, that league. That would set a precedent. I mean, even if it's not top 45.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would probably cut Stetson here for now. I think they can make a run and really get back into it. I think they're a good club, but that's an easy cut.
So for me, I'm looking at Irvine, the other Big Ten, whether it's Iowa, Indiana,
or Alabama. I think I would take South Al over any of those teams.
You think so?
I don't know. Maybe not. You're right, because like the RPI is it going to stay up there?
I think Alabama is better than South Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with you there as far as better. Just talking about projecting who's going to have the better case at the end.
Well, South Alabama's going to win more games.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to pitch well in that league.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly could just make Sunbelt a 1-bid league. Or, I mean, 5 for the Big Ten feels a little aggressive.
So talk to me about Indiana. So what do you like? What do you not like?
I like the pitching.
Yeah.
I was surprised the way they played this past week. I mean, they got swept in a 4-game series, right? By Ohio State.
Ohio State, yeah. They've lost 5 straight. Right.
Before that, they had been fine. They took care of business against Michigan State, Purdue, Penn State, Rutgers, Minnesota. I mean, they didn't really play the cream of the crop in that league, but I do feel like they have some of the best pitching depth in the league.
Mm-hmm. Do you like them better than Iowa? I know we talked earlier about schedule.
Yeah. I think I do. Yes, I do. But I don't think, but I think it's fairly close. But yeah, I would take
I do think whoever has the best record is going to get in
right.
that league.
So for me, I mean, I suppose I'd probably cut Iowa right now. 9-9. They're on, for me, like they're on the radar, but they're not quite.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to watch them a week or two.
Yep.
Okay.
So there we go.
How about
So
that?
so the first 5 out or first group out, Iowa, Stetson, Wichita State.
Correct. And then we
And
had
we could come up with somebody else. Georgia would be in that group.
Georgia. I don't know if A&M would be, or
Yeah, A&M would be there for me.
Coastal Carolina, maybe.
Coastal,
Cal.
Cal.
yeah. Let's see who else I had.
Yeah, that feels like.
Oklahoma.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, them or K-State.
Kansas State. Yeah. So if you're looking for the next 10 out,
You had Stetson. Okay.
interesting. It's gonna be a, as we keep saying, it's going to be a very interesting year. So there we have it. I think we've got 9 for the ACC and 9 from the SEC to wind up with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is correct.
Yeah.
Which feels okay. And then 6 from the pack. What, 5 from the Big 12? 5 out of 9. So those are kind of, and then 4 from the Big 10. 4 from Conference USA. I kind of, if it actually winds up playing out this way, where you've got 4 Conference USA and 2 from the Sun Belt, 2 from the West Coast Conference, 2 from the Big West, I think that would be a good thing for college baseball to have some of these
spread it around.
Yeah, spread around a little
For sure.
bit. Well, I think that's going to do it. I mean, we could do final thoughts, but we've already gone on for 2 hours, so. I think people are tired of listening to us. Let's call it.
No way. You can never get enough NerdCast.
People love the NerdCast. You guys, thank you. Thank you for taking all the time. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to Driveline. We will be back, I think, in 2 weeks. We usually take an every other week approach right after the midseason, and then I think we might go weekly thereafter. But we'll look at the calendar. But yeah, I think we'll be skipping next week. We'll be back with a NerdCast the week after. So stay tuned for that. Check out the regular D1Baseball podcast as well with Mike Rooney. That should be posted today in addition to this one. So until next time, everybody, thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.